Hi everybody. Well, I've been not doing I've been trying to set up the Sport Quattro to show you the meat and potatoes of it. But I just want to do a quick little diversion here. I could, let's just say I could be coming from that to this, but in movie land, but this is a warning to all car guys. What it is you got to really look out for people saying they're going to give you a good deal. It's like everybody knows. And what you got to look at is, see these fenders right here? I'm going to bring this over. See this? This was in a bunch of parts that I paid $400 to get sandblasted, and that's what they consider finished. Great, huh? Well, I'm going to be stripping this all with a chemical stripper, just a shit that you get at Home Depot or whatever the auto parts place is. Whatever. I'm doing the hood right there. See, it's right there. There's a stripper. And that's pretty much it. I just want to give a small quick update. I haven't had time to get on. I'm just about ready to make a jig for the pan and to cut it to show you guys how to do it and to make it actually fit. Well, not so much fit, be equal enough so you can actually set the suspension up and it won't be too much of a pain. But I'll get on that, but I got to get on, finish up stripping that and do these before I go back up and do some other work. That's basically the update. So here it goes. What we got to do here is we are now building a jig. This jig is to pretty much being able to move the rear subframe mounts or pan 320 millimeters in, plugs, 320 millimeters in so we can make the Sport Quattro. And it took me a little bit how to figure out because, I don't have one of those multi-million-dollar jigs, and I just want to say, well, what do I have lying around to make it work? So, well, first start off, this is a rack from a van. I used to use it as a rally service vehicle. That's what I bought it. It had 3 of those racks on there, so I'm going to make a jig for this and jig for one of the Cosworths. And pretty much all I'm going to be doing is cutting up an old seat, as you can see right there. That's from a Eurovan parts vehicle that I'm now broken even on, so basically it's free. A couple pieces of metal. I'm just going to start cutting stuff up. The main thing is, this is basically the where the rubber hits the road. This bar is on the front mounts, which you're not going to use from, because all I'm going to use is the tunnel in the rear section and bring it forward. Now, this bar and this bar are critical. What we have to do is I leveled up the chassis. The chassis on both sides and side to side are completely level. So I'm starting with that. What I'm going to do is cut this on this bar. This thing is going to have to be 90 degrees. Use a cheap, this is a rafter square or a framing square or a rafter square. Put this on here, on this, so it'll be exactly equal. As you can see, let me move the camera around. Right there is where the mounts for the drive shaft are. In someone's infinite wisdom, they welded they broke the bolts off, so they didn't fix the bolts properly. So they basically welded the center bearing onto it. So I cut them off, leveled it. As you can see, it's not distorted, so the car hasn't been in a wreck. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a plate across there. You can see the little plate that I was using for a shim to test my theory. Down here. This thing's got to be exactly level with the chassis. This has to be exactly square. And when this is all square, this is level. So when I bring the subframe forward, it's going to be an exact plane. It's not going to skew one way or another. I mean, of course, I'm going to have deviations from the mounting position, but it's going to be, I'm going to minimize the risk of the deviations. And that's the big thing. The next thing after that is to figure out where to cut it. I'm figuring I'm going to cut, because if you look at the Sport Quattros, look at a lot of the pictures, they have a very small rear seat. It's just a covered bench. It looks, it's a homologation special. It looks like it's a seat, but it's not meant for anybody. It's like the 911 seats, What I'm probably going to do is cut, I did a measurement and it looked like the pan or the seat width was 8.02 inches, because what I did is I had a picture. Depending on the angle of how they took it, the belt buckle and the actual seat width from the frontal part to the rear, I just made a calculation, or just a a mean, or not a mean, but a calculation of how many, actually how long or how wide it is. I transferred it to figure out how much I can cut out, and it's about 4 inches out of here, 4 to 5 inches. And if I cut 4 to 5 inches out of here, what I have to do is think about this and think about this. Now, I'm going to pull this forward, probably 7 inches. You know, I'm going to split the median 7 to 8 inches and use cut 4 out of here, but bring this around 7 to 8 inches forward, whatever the millimeters is, and so I have room for fuel pumps on the sides. So that, and I have to turn that, because if you look at the Sport Quattros, their fuel pump mounting system is turned sideways. There's rust over there. I got to get rid of that, so I might as well cut out the section where there's rust. And this is one of the cars. This is all on here. So if I come back, I want to keep this as tight as possible. Then when I bring this all forward, I have a section right here, a box section. That gives me room for the fuel pumps, probably accumulators, regulators, or distribution valves, depending on what I do for brakes. And get rid of the rust, then I can plate it into the body. When I get the 4005 plus 5 back in here, I'll find out what's good with that, then I'll make this tunnel and this rear floor pan to that using the existing front lugs. Now, if we take a look at this, what we're going to do here, this is the front part of the side part of the other van rack. This, I have to put right here, I have to weld it. Okay, that's stationary. Then I figure out this is going to be from here, and I made a mark, which I'm going to cut, put into here, make a datum line if you want to call it, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not that smart. But this to here is exactly 320 millimeters. So when I have this underneath the other car and bringing this thing forward, I can bring it exactly full, bring this entire thing forward, weld it up onto the floor pan, and or weld it up onto the transmission tunnel, I mean, and bits of the floor pan. Bring it all forward. I got my 320 millimeter cut from the front subframe mounts to the rear complete subframe. And seeing how this is equal, when this thing slides forward, this is going to go on a plane, a sliding plane like this. This is exactly what it's going to do. It should keep the subframe mounts, everything to within relationship to the rear, to the front subframe mounts, the rear subframe mounts, to the front subframe mounts. So the angle of the drive shaft can be within factory specs. So we can shim it if we have to, but that way it's going to be as close as I can possibly get it to this transmission tunnel. And after that, looking at the 5 plus 5, it's a matter of just sliding it underneath and cutting it out and piecing it together. Simple, right? All right, well, let me first, we got to first get that thing run. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a small piece out of that seat to run as a bar. And that's going to be our starting, well, not a starting point, but our basis point for cutting the back part of the frame to go onto that, so we can actually make it square and level. So let's try that. It's gonna be rough. But all right, there we go. Easy enough. Okay, now that that plate's on there, we got a place where it's going to go pivot up and down. That's going to be our basically our equal point. We got to bring the bar up like this, and then we have a level. We look on this bar which way it's going to be. So if we bring it up like that, that should be quite level. And we're going to want to cut this right here. Come on, mark you son of a bitch. Because the reason why is that when I put the frame square, I don't have another piece that'll go on here to make it equal. So I'm just going to slice just slice out this right here. It'll give me room to move it up and down and to keep this thing square. That way I can bring this straight up against it and we know it's exactly square when it's on this. Good. Now I can set it up against the bar and go exactly right angle and we'll be all set. I'll just give it a tack weld and we'll go from there. Got it pretty much centered right in there on the center bearing. Centered roughly in here. This is all right here. It's level. Now, I mean, that's pretty friggin' close. I mean, it's within a hair. Got a square. And now all we have to do is tack it. We got to have this slide into here. As you can see, this side, this has to go up, so I need to cut this off, which is going to be fine, no worries. And I want to weld this to this. That'll give me my exact point. Exactly 320 millimeters. Okay, that's not going anywhere. Now we got to put everything onto that. New gloves. I hope you guys can see it. It's got some light, not much. We have to start in the back. We got this situated. That's level. I don't really care if this has to be, you know, I'm going to make it relatively square. But what I did is, like on the front, which I didn't tell you before, I just pushed these out of old bushings. This is just an old, you know, on the old rusted or the old bad bushings that were all loose. I put a ball joint press in it and just pressed it out. You know, cleaned it up a little bit because it was rusty and stuff. So, and this is just a piece of inch of square box that I just had kicking around. So we're going to start welding this. Then we're going to put a bar from here to here, and then we're going to start, you know, getting everything squared away. All right, part number one. Now the next thing is we're going to want cross bracing on here. But what we have to do, we have two bars that are absolutely stationary. Okay? Now, what we have, well, the main thing is we have to have the spread or the width to give it stability. But when this thing retracts in, we can't hit the sides of the transmission tunnel because we still need to go 320 millimeters in. So, I put these as close as possible like this, run this bar up and back like that, and weld everything together. And we'll tack it in together first, and that should all be that should be the end of it. So let me just get some more grinding done and cutting, and we'll be all set. All right, there we go. We're attacked. Well, looks like I'm done for the day. At least I feel like I'm done for the day. All right, let's recap it. I'm not sure what else I'm going to put in here. Maybe strip in some of the 911 fenders, whatever, on that garbage, but maybe not. What I did, there is a subframe. Pretty much the jig for that, it's all tacked. I'm going to weld it tomorrow off camera because who needs to see just me beating bills. Go to weld.com and do a much better job. That's all set up. I can shorten it 320 millimeters. It will not contact the transmission tunnel. That's square, that's square, that's square, and basically it's out of junk parts. We built the jig. That's all we care about. All right. So until next time, you can do anything you want. That's all I can say. You know? Have fun. See you next time. Okay, everybody. This is the addendum to the video that you just saw. This is a couple of things that I did as a mistake. I want that rear subframe in relation to that front subframe. That's the goal. What I did not take into account is this is a cylindrical rod. It spins freely inside here. What happens when I pull this thing forward? It tweaks. It's not going to be right. So what I did is I made sure the front one is level. This one is exactly level with a popsicle stick right there, you know, just because of the way I welded it. I threw it together because I really wasn't pushing to get that thing, you know, absolutely level. Just wanted it stationary with this. So what I'm going to do is I cut an X right here in the bar. With that being level, I'm going to unbolt that and slide this thing forward to cut a groove right here. Because this is going to be underneath the car when I do this. And I don't want to get out of level and do all that stuff. So it has to absolutely match up with this mark. That means the relationship of that rear subframe to that front two mounting points of the subframe is equal. And with this plate right here, I got to drill a couple of holes, you know, for the mounting bolts, no worries. That thing will be stationary there, so the subframe will actually be completely brought forward. And also on the other side of this, I bent the tab up to welded it to these bars just in case this thing moves up and down at all, which I don't want it to. And that's pretty much it. That's the addendum to the video from what I screwed up on before. So don't think I'm too much of a moron. We're all trying to learn something. But I just want to make sure that you guys have the best knowledge, or the best chance of getting it right. That's pretty much it. You know, if we can get it some semblance of right, that way it'll be kind of neat. And right now, I think I have I don't know, $160 into it right now. Well, then we'll cut this stuff up because this floor is soft. I just want to cut all, because you can see where the right here is where the seam is for the transmission tunnel to the main floor. I'm just going to cut all this out just so I can throw it outside, and we'll get on to the next issue or episode. That's it. All right. See ya.